Sisters, listen to me for a minute. I ain't here to talk down to you, and I ain't here to lecture you like the world already does every day. I'm here to tell you what I saw with my own eyes yesterday in New York City. Something that should shake every woman awake. Sister, you have to understand something before we go any further. Men don't live in the same world that you live in. What feels like a normal day to you feels like a battlefield to him. He's scanning every shadow, every alley, every man's eyes, every step behind you, and you don't even notice the war he fights silently just by being a man in this world. And if you think that that sounds dramatic, it's only because you ain't seen the things that we've seen. The things we never tell you because we don't want to plant even more fear in your chest. But yesterday in New York, fear didn't whisper, it screamed. Especially any woman who thinks she don't need a mahram, she don't need protection, and she don't need to hear a man when he tells her don't go here, don't walk that way, don't dress like that, and don't travel alone. I was walking down a crowded Manhattan street, shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of people. Traffic was blaring, faces everywhere, the kind of place where the whole world blends into this buzzing machine. And right there in the middle of all that noise, a woman was walking alone, dressed in a way that made her stand out like a lighthouse in a storm, bright, exposed, and unguarded. She looked confident, like she had full control of the world around her. And for a minute, you could almost admire that confidence, the way that she walked like she'd memorized every street light, every passing face, every rhythm of the city. But confidence without protection is just a blindfold tied with hope. And New York don't care about your confidence. Predators don't care about your self-esteem. Evil don't pause just because you think you're strong enough to handle it. The world has teeth, sister, and yesterday those teeth showed. And then it happened. It was fast, so fast that I almost even missed it. A man cut through the crowd like a wolf through the dark. He slammed his shoulder into her, grabbed her by the shirt, and kissed her right on the neck, violated her, right there in the middle of that busy street. And just as quick as he came, he melted into the crowd, gone. No name, no face, no way to catch him, no way to stop him. And here's the part that haunts me the most. People kept walking like nothing happened, like a woman's dignity wasn't just stolen in broad daylight. And that's when you realize something chilling. When you walk alone, your scream blends with the city noise. Your fear becomes just another moment the world shrugs its shoulders at. But if she'd had a man with her, even one step behind her, that predator would have chose a different target or backed down completely. Predators don't hunt where lions stand. And that girl just stood there froze. Her whole world collapsed into confusion and fear in the span of 3 seconds. And you know why that man picked her? Because she was alone. Because she looked easy to isolate, and because there wasn't no male presence beside of her. Because in that moment, she was prey in a forest full of predators. And I don't care how empowered the world tells you that you are, how independent they tell you to be, how much they feed you this lie that you don't need no man. When danger hits, nobody lies to you. Your body knows the truth your mind tries to argue with. The truth is, you were not created to fight those battles alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't design you to be unprotected. He didn't design you to roam streets alone like you're made of steel. He created you with softness, with mercy, with beauty, with tenderness. And He assigned men the job of protecting and guarding that beauty and tenderness, standing as a shield between you and the darkness of this world. That ain't oppression. That's divine harmony. The world will lie to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you the truth. Allah placed a man in your life, a husband, a dad, a brother, a son, not to limit you or cage you, but to shield you from things that you don't see coming. And I know some women will hear that and get frustrated. They'll roll their eyes and say, why do I need a man to tell me what to do? But sister, He sees dangers you don't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed him that way. He's built to detect threat before you recognize the feeling of unease rising in your chest. He feels the wind shift before the storm even breaks. And let me tell you something every real man knows. When a man walks with a woman he cares about, he ain't just strolling, he's assessing. He's watching the man across the street with his hands in his pockets. He's watching the group of guys behind you lowering their voices when you pass by. He's watching the side alley, the parked car with tinted windows, the man pretending to check his phone while staring too long. You think he's calm. Sister, he's actually calculating every possible threat before it ever reaches you. That's Qawwamah. That's leadership. That's the instinct Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in him. When He says don't dress like that, He ain't attacking your freedom, He's shielding your honor. When he says don't walk down that street, he ain't trying to control you, he's trying to preserve you. When your wali says don't travel alone, he ain't being old-fashioned. He's fulfilling the divine responsibility Allah put on his shoulders. And here's the part nobody tells women. If you get harmed because you ignore him, it don't just hurt you, it puts him in a situation where he's got to fight or kill or die trying to protect you, and you don't understand the weight of that. Because when a man steps forward for you, he steps forward with his life. If he throws a punch to defend you, he's risking prison. If he hesitates, he risks losing you. If he steps too hard, he risks taking a life. Too late, he risks your dignity. Too early, he risks the law. If he steps back, he risks his own honor. Every option he has comes with consequences that you'll never carry, but he must. And he accepts that burden because Allah commanded him to. But when you ignore him, you're forcing him into battles he should have never had to fight. You become wounded emotionally, but he becomes responsible before Allah for letting harm reach you when he knew the danger and you didn't listen. And that's why the Salaf scholars following the Quran and Sunnah and not culture are clear and firm. A woman don't leave her home without necessity unless her husband or her wali permits it. It ain't because she's weak, it ain't because she's lesser, but because her safety is his divine burden. Her movement affects his accountability, and her risk becomes his court case. Her harm becomes his blood on the ground. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said a woman don't travel without a mahram, not because she's incapable, but because she's valuable, because her safety is worth more than her convenience, because a woman alone is a door Shaitan loves to walk through. The Salafi scholars are unanimous. A woman leaving the home without necessity or permission, without a mahram, opens the gates of fitna for herself and the men responsible for her. And yesterday was proof carved into the concrete streets of Manhattan. And you might think I'm just running to the store, but he's thinking if something happens to her, I'll have to fight a man twice my size, risk prison, risk death, leave my children orphans because she ignored the boundaries Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed for her protection. And you might think I'm just wearing what I want, but he's thinking if a predator sees her, he'll test her first because she looks unprotected. And if he touches her, I'm going to war. This ain't about dominance. This is about responsibility. This is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded men to be guardians. And Allah commanded women to stay behind that shield, not in front of it. The Prophet ﷺ said the safest place for a woman is her home, not as a prison, but as a sanctuary, a fortress, a place where shaitan, predators, and eyes full of desire don't reach her. And what the world tells you, go anywhere, dress however, trust nobody but yourself, that's the language of a society that's abandoned you to the wolves and told you it's empowerment. Islam don't abandon you. Islam protects you. Allah protects you. Your man protects you. But he can't protect you if you don't let him. So sister, when your husband says, let me go with you, you let him. When your father says, don't go there, hear him. When your wali says this is unsafe, trust him. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, stay within the boundaries set, obey him. Because the world you walk through ain't soft, it ain't safe. And yesterday in New York, I saw with my own eyes what happens when a woman walks into that darkness thinking she don't need a light beside her. And sister, listen to me close right here. If it happened to her, it can happen to anybody. Your beauty, your innocence, your confidence, none of that frightens a predator, but your husband beside you does. Your wali beside you does. Your obedience to Allah's boundary does. Allah didn't give you these rules to restrict your life. He gave you these rules to preserve your life. The world you walk in is not merciful, but Allah is. Allah made you precious, so don't walk unprotected in a world that knows the value of what you carry even when you don't. And that's all I got to say about it.